And how do you explain this to the CEO of an e-commerce today? What's the point in your pitch where their eyes just open up? This is a new era. This is a new way of doing things. What's fundamentally changed?
I mean, the reality is, even though it's fundamentally a new era, they care about the exact same thing as they cared 5 years ago, which is conversion. Like, if you're in e-commerce, you care about what's my conversion rate, how much am I selling? That's it. And what we tell them is, hey, what's your current conversion rate? If you send a campaign, how much do you sell? Usually, it's gonna be below 1% if you use like a typical like email marketing. Even if you use like now WhatsApp, it's a bit more trendy, but if you just send campaigns, it might go up to like 2%, 3%. It's very, very hard that you're gonna go beyond that.
Welcome to the pod, Guillem. Pleasure to have you. How's it going, man?
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Ivan. Really good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. So this is a very exciting one for me because you're a founder that we've been lucky to back and is working in a super interesting project in something that's happening right now with a lot of force. So super excited to have you and for you to show us a little bit of the real sauce, what's going on. So first, let's start with your backstory a little bit, Guillem. Tell us, I know you've started a bunch of projects before, even maybe McKinsey, and maybe before Charles, and definitely before Konvo AI. Take us back, like when did you start playing with like entrepreneurial projects, and what was the bug that got you there?
Okay, I mean, let's go back then. I guess I've always really had a lot of interest in entrepreneurship, mostly because I come from a family where my dad, he had a small business. So I've always seen him like be really, really busy, but kind of trying to work hard, get ahead, and like build his own business. So I think that always very intrigued me a lot, right? And when I was already a kid, like did a bunch of like the usual things of like selling, I don't know, like cards and whatever. But I guess the first real attempt was like when I was 18 or so. I attempted to build an e-commerce brand. It was really though not an actual e-commerce like it should be done. It was like kind of drop shipping and whatever. Managed to grow it to, I would say, almost like 20,000 euros per month after a few months. But then the product that I was selling completely, it was complete garbage, to be honest. So that kind of faded away. And then done like a couple of things along the way. Tried to build like an online a learning academy for university students. I kind of did a bunch of different things, but I had to also at some point go into the real world, try to like start a career, and that's where I shifted towards McKinsey. Lasted very shortly. I didn't really like it, and decided that I really wanted to go back into the field at some point. And I think Konvo was definitely the right idea and the right company for me to do that.
And how did you get to Konvo itself? Because I know you were at Charles before. Tell us a little bit what Charles did and how you actually did the jump from McKinsey to Charles. And how do you go from a consultant to, hey, I want to go, I think you were a founder associate?
So, I mean, in my case, like I was at McKinsey very briefly, and mostly because I was in the US. I was trying to stay there, but COVID hit, and then I had an offer from a company in the travel industry, and that kind of got destroyed. So I had to come back, and I took McKinsey as a way to say, well, I'm gonna do something, right? But the cool thing was a partner that I was working with at an engagement. He had previously worked with another guy at McKinsey that was now starting a company in Berlin, and I was like, look, I want to move somewhere else outside of Spain. So they're starting a company, they raised a bunch of money, and probably they're going to be good, and they're working in the e-commerce space, which I really loved. So I decided to jump there, and that was Charles. So I joined Charles when they were like less than 10 people, or I think it was actually like 10 people. And they were trying to use WhatsApp as a marketing channel. So it was basically taking the idea of email marketing and bringing it into WhatsApp. So that's kind of what they did. And in that process, I started as a founder's associate, as you said. I then moved on to end up leading the expansion team. So anything that was outside of Germany, I was leading those efforts and sales success. And basically what happened quite often is that having hundreds and thousands of conversations with customers, what we saw is, well, there was a very big problem with how do you put together your marketing if you're an e-commerce brand, right? Like how do you kind of bring together your marketing activities and all of the information that your marketing team wants with how do you manage your support kind of area, right? Like you have a lot of customers, support agents, a lot of questions, a lot of information that gets completely lost. And then your marketing team is kind of hitting their head against the wall, trying to get more information to improve their marketing. So we were like, well, what if we try to like bring that together? So that was kind of like the bug got me thinking it would be really interesting to make a different type of platform that unifies those two worlds. And at that point, AI was starting to take off as well. So for the first time, it was actually possible to think of a world in which you can bring all of the context into an AI agent and let kind of that AI agent then utilize the context of conversations, of like interactions, of whatever, to create like these personalized campaigns. So that was like the very genesis of what then has become Konvo and what we're doing right now. No? So it's these AI agents for commerce. So anything that we're basically helping brands like do anything from automating support conversations to, more importantly, helping them sell based on all of that information. And that's kind of how we got there.
Brilliant. Before we actually get into the sauce of the product itself, tell us a bit about how you selected your co-founder, how you met him, what made you think that this is the person I want to go with?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I selected him so much as we kind of just selected each other, right? Like he was also Charles with me. We became friends before deciding that we wanted to start a company. So we both had a lot of love for endurance sports. I was training for Ironmans at the time. He had been let's say, university athlete in cycling as well. So we were basically going for cycling rides every single weekend, doing like 200 kilometers. And on those 6-hour rides, talking about, hey, what do you want to do? Like kind of understanding each other, like what you've done in the past, what drives you, what are your ultimate goals. And it was very, very clear that we had a very strong fit in both what we wanted, also in our skills. He was completely technical, had built in the past already like tech companies. I was completely commercial, so the complete opposite. So we always thought, well, if one day one of the two has a really good idea, we should probably try to speak to each other about it, right? And over those rides, like we were talking about how could you actually build this new platform? How could you bring like support and marketing into one place? And we started kind of like tinkering with it, like doing some little kind of projects, and it was very, I would say, almost serendipitous. It was not really like, hey, I have an idea, I need a co-founder, I'm gonna go find him. It's more like we already found each other before, and then we found kind of the idea along the way together.
Este podcast está patrocinado por Gong. Gong es una plataforma de inteligencia artificial optimizada para hispanohablantes y elegida por muchas compañías líderes. Si quieres aprender cómo cerrar más oportunidades, hacer proyecciones de ventas mucho más precisas y conseguir insights en tiempo real sobre tu mercado y tus competidores, vete a gong.io/demo para verlo en vivo.
Just a brief parenthesis there. I notice some patterns between people like you who start successful companies, even early stage. Is you're pretty high agency in the way that you've left your home country. You were happy to go to the States, happy to go to Berlin. You're pretty into extreme things like extreme sports. No, you do like 200-kilometer rides and find a guy to co-found something. You're willing to think outside the box. It's pretty interesting. So moving on. Now you have your guy, you know. How do you actually find your first steps and profiles, right? Like you went and built an MVP, and then how did you select the team, no? Or which order did you follow?
I mean, to be honest, first we did not even think about the team. We thought about, let's try to build something real out of this idea. So we went straight into MVP and straight into acquiring customers. So we spent like some time, like almost like 4 months or so with about 7 customers that were like kind of our design partners. And at that point was not the team. Like it was us in his kitchen, mostly like 16-hour days, every single day of the week, trying to like get better at the product and trying to understand those customers. We got ourselves to about 30 or 40 customers before we had anyone else. Very delayed the whole building a team. But once we decided to do that, to be honest, it was a lot of outbound also to hire people. So we were looking for an engineer, decided to like go in all of the platforms, reaching out to people, tapping into his network. He had also a very large network in Berlin of engineers, so kind of doing all of those things until we found someone crazy enough to also join us. I mean, funny enough, he was also like super sporty. Like he's like he used to be a professional rower, like a high, not professional, but like kind of high performance rower. He's a climber now and an insane engineer. And he was like, well, you guys seem crazy. I'm also kind of crazy, so why not? So it kind of that's how it started, to be honest.
And you were in your kitchen there 16 hours a day. So how did you actually put together the MVP? Like, what steps did you actually take to build something and put it in front of someone to see if there's willingness to pay?
I guess before even doing that, I started to consult on e-commerces. So I had for a long time been kind of a consultant for different e-commerce brands, like helping them with their marketing strategies, helping them with their customer support operations. So we had a lot of knowledge already about what challenges they had. And we started to build kind of little pieces of the product that would help them, but it was not really something that we would commercialize or anything like that. And at some point we decided, okay, we're going to do this seriously. So we started to build from that, right? And I was talking, kind of being the face to the brands and kind of understanding what do you want to accomplish? So like, what are the things that you want to do? And then we would go back, build it, almost do whatever it was needed, like manually if needed, and kind of deliver the value. So they wanted to have like this little bot that was talking to people, and they wanted to send these marketing campaigns based on the conversations that the bot had. So I would basically tell them, yeah, this is how it's gonna look, this is how we're gonna do it, this is the experience it's gonna be, and then Scott would be actually then building in the back end, no UI, nothing, just building that experience. So that was kind of how we started to build the technology for the MVP, and at the same time, of course, then like trying to build like some simple pieces of the UI so they can also like jump into the tool and start to see things. But it was very, very raw. Like it was basically me telling them, yeah, of course, what you want to do, we're gonna do it, and then Scott behind like connecting things and making it happen. But the user, like our customers, would not see a platform at the beginning. So that's kind of how we did it.
Super interesting. And once you decided to take the jump, what did the actual first version of the original Hula, no? Because that was the first name. What did that look like?
So the first version didn't look. You could not see it, right? Like that was the thing. But then the first version that you could look at, it was literally just an inbox that you could just see the conversations. Because our first version was basically a product where you could create campaigns based on the conversations that you had with customers. So imagine you were a shop selling whatever, like eyeglasses, selling like handbags or whatnot. You have your customer support conversations via WhatsApp, email, whatever. What we would do is we would take those conversations and create marketing campaigns for them, right? And send them out. The first product was literally just an inbox that you could look at. You would see the different chats and the different conversations with what did the human agents at that time, like before the campaigns, what was the campaign and kind of what was the reply. But that was the first product. Like you cannot do anything else.
Sweet. I think what's going to be most useful to people is if we actually show the product itself, because when we talk about campaigns and marketing and inboxes, I don't think the magic comes as through as when you see what this thing does. And we can get into like what agents do and your take on this market and so on. But I think if we show the people, that'll be the best.
Let's do it. Also, I mean, it's changed a lot since then, right? So now you can see a lot more things. But let me share a couple of things then. So this is now when you log into Konvo, like you have many different things, right? But effectively, what is Konvo and what are you going to be doing with us? You're building an AI agent that can convert and serve your customers. So you give it context, you let it have conversations, and then you let it re-engage with them. You let it like send marketing campaigns to ultimately increase your conversion rate. Few things that you look at if you're the customer. This is our demo like environment. You see like a little bit of a panel, like panel overview, how many sessions you had, what's the resolution, what was the revenue that you had, and whatever. And the first thing you need to do is build that agent. So now we make it really, really easy for you to build the agent. We give you like some easy ways to include like sources of information. So you have like, I don't know, an FAQ document internally that you just want to upload. You have like websites, you have whatever, you can just drop those in. Once you have that, we build skills into your agent. So what we call skills are basically the ability to perform action. So anything from, I don't know, being able to manage orders. So we give access to all of your systems so you can like manage orders, being able to recommend products. So we give you like the ability to do that, being able to do whatever you want. And once you have that, you also need to give it a name, kind of give it like a way of behaving. So that's the core of what your agent, like how your agent gets constructed. right? Like with those 3 simple steps, you've managed to go from 0 to now you have an agent that is active 24/7, that knows about you, knows about your product, knows how to sell them, knows how to resolve questions, and that can speak in your own language. Once you have that though, one would say, well, great, but how does it work now, right? I mean, the easy way would be, imagine you have an e-commerce shop. So I'm gonna, for instance, share here like a fake e-commerce shop. You might have like a live chat bubble or whatever. Like I'm a customer, I wanna ask about some questions. So I will interact. And this live chat, like I start asking some questions. Hey, I wanted to buy some merch from Konvo. Do you have anything cool? This live chat is not gonna be powered by a person. It's actually gonna be powered by AI. So it's gonna be saying like, hey, of course, we've got some of the coolest Konvo merch around. What are you looking for? It's gonna start picking items for you. So you can say, oh, I might wanna look into the hoodie, or I might wanna look into that, or you have like another question. So you can be, as a customer, like as an end customer, you can start asking questions and it will guide you. But then after, now I'm not gonna reply anything, right? I'll say that I was interested, but I drop off like the majority of people do. Because I'm in a podcast, so I should not be looking at buying the next merch. What our agents you can also train them to do is to follow up and to send marketing campaigns and to kind of follow this user. So essentially in our platform, you also have more like the campaigning and like the flows and all of the other abilities to turn this very simple interaction that the end user starts into more of a proactive then interaction from the agent.
Can you show some of the workflows? Because I think it's super interesting.
I can probably show some of the things. Wait, let me see. For instance, this is a very simple flow that you could build that essentially what it does is it has a trigger that it's based on AI. So what it says is, hey, look for different signals while having a conversation. That's how we call them. And in this case, the signal is what product is being mentioned. So when a product is going to be mentioned, the AI automatically will detect this. And what you will do is you can then create kind of a little bit of a custom workflow of how do you want it to continue. So in this case, I want to wait 2 days. I want to then have a condition where I check if they order or did not order. And if they did not buy, I want to send a follow-up message. But this follow-up message, again, you don't even have to create it. It will be the AI that will look at the conversation, all of the history and so forth, and will simply decide, okay, this is what I should tell Ivan so that Ivan actually buys. This is an extremely simple example of a workflow, but these are the kind of workflows that you can create to go from very reactive, very what used to be user started or user initiated to now let the agent be the one that takes the proactivity and that starts selling for you, right? So that's kind of how it looked like.
And how do you explain this to the CEO of an e-commerce today? Like, what's the point in your pitch where their eyes just open up because they're dealing with intercom, they're dealing with e-commerce platforms that have a bunch of plugins today? Like, how do you explain this to them? Like, hey, no, like this is a new era, this is a new way of doing things. What's fundamentally changed, and what's the magic moment for them when you pitch this?
I mean, the reality is, even though it's fundamentally a new era, they care about the exact same thing as they cared 5 years ago, which is conversion. Like, if you're in e-commerce, you care about what's my conversion rate, how much am I selling? That's it. And what we tell them is, hey, what's your current conversion rate? If you send a campaign, how much do you sell? Usually, it's going to be below 1% if you use like a typical like email marketing. Even if you use like now WhatsApp, it's a bit more trendy, but if you just send campaigns, it might go up to like 2%, 3%. It's very, very hard that you're going to go beyond that. And we basically tell them, hey, how would you feel if we could 10x that? Very provocative question. And of course, it's like, I mean, it would be great, but it's not going to, and they tell you, but it's not going to happen. I'm like, okay. Would you be willing to like bet on it? Because I am, right? And that's kind of like how we try to get them engaged is we're going to help you increase your conversion rate. That's our one job. And if you look at our conversion rate, our agents have currently an average of about 8% conversion rate on a conversation. So if we can get a conversation going with a customer, we know we can sell way more than what your website being static can do, and way more than what your usual campaigns being static can do. So I think when people understand this is not about just sending static images or static campaigns, it's about really getting into those conversations, they can easily imagine a world in which that's possible. Because they think of themselves and they think, when I started as an e-commerce owner, most likely they were the ones that at the very beginning, they were actually having conversations with their users. they were chatting, they were like maybe WhatsApping them, like they were like trying to understand each of the users. And if you ask any owner and you tell them, do you think you could sell more if you could talk to every single customer? And that's what we want to do, right? Like we want to help them talk to every single customer. And if you do that, you can kind of do a little bit of magic with that for them.
What's the vision that you have? I understand this is a phenomenal wedge talking about, hey, 10x your conversion, but without needing to explain this to your ICP, like where do you see the state of e-commerce in 5 years from now?
I mean, ultimately, we believe that how we currently, all of us use buy and like interact with brands, it will have to change completely. And we think there's two realities that are going to emerge. One is, and it's starting to emerge already, you're going to have these massive platform aggregators like ChatGPTs, like Perplexities, whatever, that they're going to become the place where when you have something that you want to buy, you're going to go there. You're going to be like, hey, I'm looking for, I don't know, whatever, like some tools because I'm building this. And it'll just basically tell you, you need this kind of wrench and you need this kind of hammer. Do you want to buy it? Yes, and it's going to get bought. But that world, if we only had that, it's a very, very dangerous world for the majority of brands, because that completely takes away the power from the brand to be proactive, to own the relationship with the customer, to push for sales when they need it, when they need to do so. So if that happens, we also need to manage to give brands a way to own their own interactions with the customers at the same level of customer experience. And what do we believe at the same level? We believe it's giving like every brand online, giving them the ability to build like these very personal agents that will know every single one of your customers. There's a new product that we think Ivan is going to be interested in. This agent will literally just call you, or will send you a WhatsApp, or will send you an email, whatever you're used to doing, and will text with you like a normal person. We'll be like, hey Ivan, I hope that the holiday last week was really good. I've been we just had this like new jacket that I think you might be interested. Do you wanna maybe like look at it, or should I get you some more details? So we think this experience needs to happen, and it's fundamentally different and impossible to build with the current tools that they have. So we're basically building infrastructure for them to be able to operate at the same level than what ChatGPT is going to operate at.
Este podcast está patrocinado por Ringover. Dirigir un equipo comercial puede ser un completo caos si no tienes las herramientas adecuadas. A todos nos gusta simplificar, y ahí es donde entra en juego Ringover. Para los que no lo conocéis, Ringover es un software de comunicación omnicanal con inteligencia artificial diseñado por y para equipos de ventas. Además de integrar todas las conversaciones en un único lugar, marca la diferencia con estadísticas en tiempo real para ver cómo va la actividad del equipo al momento, y con Speech Analytics e IA, que resumen cada llamada, automatizan la entrada de datos en el CRM y hasta ofrecen consejos para que los comerciales mejoren tras cada conversación. Si nunca lo has probado, te lo recomiendo. Puedes hacerlo gratis en ringover.es y en el link que te encontrarás en la descripción.
Super interesting, and raises a question around, as OpenAI and other model companies provide more and more intelligence on tap, there's this emergence of an intelligence layer, no? Can you articulate your vision around why conversational intelligence, is going to be a thing that you're going to require knobs, tools, adaptability depending on what sector you attack? So you're in e-commerce. Why plugging into an OpenAI won't serve your needs? Why do you need a conversational intelligence layer in e-commerce?
There's many reasons why, but I would probably try to bring it down to 2 or 3 different things. One is, the models themselves, they're amazing at conversion, at helping, but ChatGPT, when you interact with it, as a user, it's not a model. That is a product. That is a model that has its own guardrails, it has its own prompt around, so that you interact with it and it feels magical. The model itself is not that great. The model just can't converse. So if you want to change the use case and go from a use case of the new search to a use case of actually helping customers serve their needs and selling them and whatnot, you need to build a new product. It's not the model alone will do it, but you need to build a product around that model. You need to give it the right guardrails. You need to also be able to input the right context from the brand, not just from what the customer bought, but really you as a brand operator, what products do you want to push for? What collections are you more interested in selling? Which collection should we not even promote? All of that setup and customization that somehow you need to input it. And that's where a product gets built, because the product is basically the way for you as a brand owner to utilize that model in a way that serves your needs, not the other way around. So that's why we think you can try to like plug in ChatGPT as a model, that's it. And we're gonna have a great demo for like about 2 minutes until the customer asks, what cream should I buy? And it's gonna recommend your competitors, right? Because it's not uniquely built for you. So that's kind of the main reason why we don't think it's something sustainable and realistic that you as a brand can just plug it into a model and API and like have it work. Someone needs to build a product for you.
Let's shift gears a little bit into go-to-market. What did your go-to-market motion look like in the beginning versus now? And you have a strong presence in Spain. You're based in Germany. You're starting to sell in different places. What was your 0 to 1 there in go-to-market?
Yeah, I mean, our 0 to 1 was really brute force our way into a lot of customers. So it was pure outbound. It was me. There was not a lot of more fancy things. I know that a lot of founders like to say like it was very fancy and like we had built these teams and whatever. No, it was not our case. We were 4 people until a few months ago. And with 4 people, we managed to acquire more than 100 customers. Why? And 3 people, of which only 1 was commercial, right? And that was pure outbound. So we were cold calling, cold emailing and whatnot. And what we're doing now is kind of evolving this, which is not scalable to a certain degree. And we're trying to make it scalable. So now we're basically doing also outbound, but we're building a lot of like smart infrastructure around it, and we're hiring like, for instance, a go-to-market engineer to really help us understand who do we reach out to, when, with what information and so forth to make it more scalable. And we're layering on top a whole, let's say, dimension of what we call community. So in our case, e-commerce is a world that it's huge, but it's very tight-knit. Like if you go to Spain or you go to Germany or you go to the UK, in each of its respective markets, especially when its respective verticals, everybody knows each other. So if you can create a community around your brand, you can kind of create this ecosystem. It really helps like spin a flywheel. So that's also why we started first focusing in one region, Spain, because we wanted to capture brands and then create a community around it. Start to have a lot of events for them, dinners, opportunities for them to meet and talk with each other, where we are always there. Because once you start to have that going on for you, it's much easier to scale all of your operations. Now we're kind of shifting on gears and saying, okay, let's take this first blueprint and bring it into other countries as well. So it's but that's kind of like the process that we've taken so far.
I've noticed also, and I find it interesting that you've created a pretty great brand in a very short amount of time, and that's not easy. It's a very recognizable brand. Your events are getting pretty popular. Like you're lighting little fires that work. And I like what you were doing with the popcorn. You guys were doing like a popcorn campaign or something. I think it stuck to my mind. It's really cool.
I mean, that is just to like say, right? Like that is for us a very important thing. Like it's kind of, how do you make yourself stand out? Like it's not about building a great product anymore. You have to build a great product, but you need to stand out. And what we look for are like those little connections, those things that seem stupid and not scalable, but actually you can really make them huge, and they make you so much more recognizable for brands. So I mean, the campaign that you mentioned of like the popcorn show that we're saying, like we basically like created, we bought more than 60 kilos of popcorn and we sent it out to like a bunch of different prospects and customers and so forth. And it's amazing the reaction that we're getting. Like people are really in awe, the amount of care that we're putting into these things. I think that speaks for itself also when you're a potential customer and you see, oh wow, these people like send me like a personalized note, like mentioning some things about our current brand, like with this whole like thing of the popcorn show with like the popcorn that are all like completely like branded, and then you go into a landing page that is like specifically for you. Like the whole experience is amazing, and they text us me like, look, I had heard of you, but now I'm really convinced. I want to know more. Like, please tell me more about what you guys are doing. Because it's so important, right? Like how you do anything is how you do everything. That I would strongly believe in.
So shifting gears once more, you guys have hit some pretty interesting and amazing metrics in terms of growth, in terms of customers reached and so on. I think you've gotten to 500,000 in revenue in a matter of months, which is amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about where you're at? What's the state of the company today? You know, how much are you growing month over month? How many clients do you have?
Yeah, I mean, so we have now about 200 customers already. We've been growing. The average growth since we started selling, it's been over 25% month over month. We're at the stage where we basically need to take it to the next level, right? So now we've done a lot of the non-scalable things that work, and now we're at the phase where we're looking of how do you scale all of this? So how do you scale and send in hundreds of kilos of popcorn, if you will, right? So that's kind of where we are, which is very exciting, to be honest, and it's a complete shift. Like just recently, 3 months ago, I was the only one selling. Now I, for the most part, don't get involved in like the actual final selling, so it's a big shift in the company currently.
So finally, just to round this out, you know, you were at McKinsey, so you know about frameworks. But is there any mental model you use daily that most founders overlook? Mental model or framework or guiding principle that you stick to? You've talked about the importance of how you do something is how you do everything, you know. But is there any other mental model that sticks to your mind?
I don't think there's like so much frameworks as there are guiding principles that I really care about and that I believe are very important. There's one specifically, which to me is the most important. It's important. And it's all about how fast you can go. Like I truly believe that anything worthwhile doing needs to be done fast. Like I know it's not sometimes everybody says it and whatever, but I really believe it, and I try to make it very clear to everybody in the company in every department. Like speed is the thing that is going to make it or break it for us. I think that's like the core. But then some other things that we really care about. I mean, we deeply care about the details, which sometimes can be also. It's a counterbalance to the speed, because you might think, well, if you care so much about the details, it's going to make you go slow. But that's where you need to force function the whole company towards no. If needed, you're just going to push twice as hard and you're going to get both things right. Because I think how you do anything is how you do everything. I do believe that speed is the most important thing that you can do, period. And the third thing that we truly believe in is that you need to first find things that work, not things that scale, and then force scaling to those things. So right now we've done a lot of like little experiments that seem super stupid. Like, I mean, think of the popcorn. Like who else orders literally like 60 kilos of popcorn that we had to manually like create hundreds of packages and whatnot? This is super non-scalable. Freaking works. So now the challenge is, once you know what it works, how do you make it scalable? So I think those three things are what we care about. Find what works, not what scales, and then we'll figure it out. Make sure that every single detail is right, because that's how the details build the presence that you have, and go as fast as you possibly can. Like that is the most important.
Sweet. Thank you, Guillem. That was awesome. So how can people find you? I know you write some really good stuff on LinkedIn. And how can they find Konvo if they have friends in e-commerce?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you can definitely follow me on LinkedIn. That's probably where I try to be the most active. And likewise for the company, we're trying to build also quite a lot of content, also interesting content, fun content. So go to convoai.com or to our LinkedIn /Konvo AI, and you'll find us there. And if you have any e-commerce, convoai.com/demo, and we'll definitely help you improve your conversion rates.
Let's go. Thank you, Guillem. Ciao.
Thank you.